Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Magic the Blathering. Today I wanted to try something a little different. I've got one of my commander decks here that I have built completely by myself. This is not an upgraded precon. I did not get a deck list. I did get some ideas from online, but it's a deck that I'm very fond of, but currently it actually needs some work, I think. It's a little bit disjointed. It doesn't have the consistency, consistency is not the right word. The consistency of theme that I was hoping for. So it was originally meant to be pretty chaotic. And it definitely can be. Norin the Wary is a fun little commander. You can do some fun things with it. But it's kind of split focused right now. And I'm just kind of going to use this video as a way to like kind of talk through it in my head. We're going to go through some cards. I have no script for this, and there's no plan. So I'm going to try to move quickly without dragging it out too much. But, Norin the Wary, for anyone who's not aware, he's a 2/1 human warrior. And whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, you exile Norin the Wary and return it under your control at the end of the turn. So he's like very hard to get rid of, but by himself, he doesn't do a lot. But obviously, anyone who's kind of already thinking, enter the battlefield triggers can be really good with him. So there is a lot of that in here. But I also have a lot of chaotic cards and a lot of coin toss cards. And actually, that brings me up to a card that I recently picked up that arguably could be a replacement commander and better. Okaun, Eye of Chaos. And you can partner him. At the beginning of combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. And whenever a player wins a coin flip, double his power and toughness until the end of the turn. So part of me does think that maybe I should just cut my losses and turn this into a deck focused around him. So that's part of what I'm going to talk about today. So let's just kind of get this. So I'm going to go through some cards here, and we're going to basically talk about, what they kind of help with. Let's look at these. So we've got Divergent Transformations. Basically, this kind of falls into the Chaos category, which is what even though Norin is enter the battlefield triggers, I'm going to kind of also consider him the Chaos category. So basically, it just lets you it's removal, but also it lets you get other stuff out of your library or your opponent's library, depending on what you're removing. Obviously, it's interesting, but I'm going to keep it over here. I'll keep it over here. Thieves Auction. Yeah, see, so you set aside all permanents, you choose one of the cards and put it into play tapped under your control. Then your opponents choose one and put it under their control, and repeat until all cards that have been set aside have been chosen. So basically, this is pure chaos. It just completely reassigns all the permanents. Blood Moon, we'll just put this in generic because it's a kind of a jerk card for me to be playing in a mono red deck. Lands, I'm just going to put here. It's mostly snow. I have mostly basic lands. Goblin Assassin. This is removal, and it's coin toss. So I guess coin toss technically falls on this side. Skull Clamp is just generic card draw for with small creatures, which I do have a number of goblins. Land, Ogre Battle Driver. This is just kind of generic red aggro. Soul and Silent Black Ranger. Possibility Storm. Yeah. So this is another chaos card. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it, then exiles cards from the top of his or her library until he exiles a card that shares a card type. That player may cast it without paying its mana cost, then puts all exile cards. So this one I'll lean it into chaos. It's not quite chaos, but we'll go with that side. Wild Evocation, same kind of deal. I will lean this into chaos. Because it's just random chance kind of deal, even though arguably coin tosses are also random chance, but it's fine. This isn't a hard thing. This is just kind of like in my brain. This is how my thought process is working, quote unquote. Mana Rock. So Krark's Thumb, this is obviously coin toss. If you would flip a coin, flip two and pick one. So obviously that's a coin toss card, and I love that. And Tempt with Mayhem, this is also chaos. So we'll put it on this pile here. But basically, yeah, it's like you copy a spell. Focus, please. You copy a spell, then everyone else can copy a spell, and if they do, you copy the spell again. So this is a fun card if you can get it off. I will admit it's probably going to fall flat in a lot of games, but man, I'm keeping it in because when it does go off, it's going to go off hard. Sculpting Steel. We're going to call this here because it's mainly used for like things like Krark's Thumb. Got some land. This is just ramp. Land. There is some land destruction in this, but I took out some of the really nasty stuff. This is goblins. Again, there was a little bit of goblin theme in here in the OG. So I'll put this down here. All the goblin stuff I'll put down there. This is banned. Anyone keeping track? Oh, there's my cat. You may not see that in the final cut. This is banned, but I'm keeping it in anyway because they banned it shortly after I bought it for like $60 or something, and it's a coin toss, so I don't care. I will obviously I don't play this in a competitive setting. I only play it with my friends, and they don't care that it's banned. This is more mana ramp, so we'll just keep that kind of in the middle there. Oh yeah, I only have half the cards. Ruination, destroy all non-basic lands. Yeah, okay, I put this back in. I'm a piece of shit. Goblin Recruiter, so goblins, land, goblins, land. This is whenever you this is a win con with coin tosses, so this is obviously going in the coin toss side. Genesis Chamber, this is just going to be artifacts. This falls into the enter the battlefield triggers section, so we're gonna put it, I guess this should probably also, here, this will also get its own section. So enter the battlefield triggers, chaos, and here, I'll put this over here too. Goblins and then coin tosses, right? So like I said, it's kind of all over the place. I still like the deck a lot as it is, but I feel like, obviously, enter the battlefield, Purphoros, just deals damage when stuff enters. Reforge the Soul, I'll call this a generic land. Blasphemous Act is just removable land. Whenever a spell or ability causes its controller to shuffle his or her library, that player puts a card from his or her hand. Oh, this one's just general disruption. So I'll put this here because that's kind of just general, like I said, just general disruption. Wheel of Misfortune. Yeah, I'll technically put this. I'll put this into chaos, even though it could arguably be in the generals pile. Impact Tremors, obviously, enter the battlefield effects. Crinkle Mob Boss, goblins. We got some land, goblins. Although this one's probably, even though it is goblin, I'm actually going to put him under the battlefield because it is very much just facilitating enter the battlefield triggers more than anything. Land. Let's grab more. This is general disruption. It's a cool card. Opponents can't search libraries, and if you would get an extra turn, you skip it. So this is a very hateful deck. Confusion in the ranks is pure chaos, and this card is also one that no, I'm going to keep this. There was one, I had another card that I got rid of that basically every time a spell was cast, if it was a single target spell, you would randomly choose another target among valid targets. In a 4-player commander game, that's just too much. Every turn took like 15 minutes. But this is definitely cool chaos card. And the battlefield effect, again, it's just kind of like a mini Purphoros. Land, let's see, Mog Assassin. It says coin toss and removal, so we're going to put it in the coin toss pile. Goblins. Yep, this is goblins. General Crete. I think I just included her because I'm a degenerate. But no, we're going to put her in the goblin pile, obviously. Game of Chaos. This is obviously chaos. But it's also coin toss. When flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails. If it ends up in your favor, you gain a life and that opponent loses a life. Otherwise, reverse. And you can't be redirected. And then each round, the winner decides whether to continue and double the stakes. So we'll call this coin toss because it is coin toss, obviously. Which is funny, though, because it's Game of Chaos, but it's in the coin toss pile. It's Fairy's Puzzle Box. This is purely chaos, I would say. Yeah. If anyone doesn't know, you basically, instead of drawing a card on your turn, you put your count the cards in hand, put those in the bottom of your library, and then draw that number of cards instead of your draw phase. So it's very disruptive as well. Fill it into the third path. This one basically is going to be enter the battlefield triggers. He's kind of a reach. I would probably remove him pretty quickly if I ever came up with some new ideas. Which, you know, if you guys have suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Duplicate. This is removal and it enters as a copy, so we're just gonna call it generic. It doesn't further any of those specifically. Land. Fiery Gambit is a coin toss. It's great because flip a coin until you choose to stop, and then it's so it's just coin tosses and it has different effects based on how many times you win. But if you lose, nothing happens. But that's why like things like Krark's Thumb are great. Outrage Shaman comes to play to target. It's just a goblin, and also it does have an inherent enter the battlefield effect. So, but we'll just call it goblin because it's not, you know. Siege Gang. This one is goblin, but it's really honestly a lot of the goblin stuff is more enter the battlefieldy. So I should probably just combine these, because I don't have anything that like makes goblins strong. I just have things that make goblins and get goblins. So really, it's just there for the end of the battlefield. Gamble. Obviously, this is chaos, but also we're just gonna. It's pretty generic. Mog Catcher, again, this is searching for a goblin and put that into play. We'll call it Enter the Battlefield, though, because it's a repeatable Enter the Battlefield effect. Scrambleverse, yeah, you just basically, for each non-land permanent, choose a player at random, then each player gains control of each permanent for which, so basically you just automatically reassign all the permanents. Chaos. Goblin. Land. Wheel of Fate, we'll just call this pretty generic. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. This is land disruption. Well, land. Wild Magic Surge is definitely going to be chaos. Destroy target permanent and opponent controls. If its controller reveals cards from the top until they reveal a permanent that shares a type, they put that card on the battlefield, the rest on the bottom. So it is a removal, but we're going to call it chaos because it is pretty chaotic. Goad all creatures, that's just generic aggro kind of stuff. Generic. Panharmonicon, enter the battlefield effects. Obviously, they just get doubled. Arcane Signet. Enter the battlefield effects. Yeah. When Goblin Center enters play, destroy target land. Hell yeah. Chaos Warp is chaotic, but we're just going to call it general removal because I think it gets used in a. Well, we'll call it chaos. Land. Generic disruption. When it enters the battlefield, choose a player at random. That player exiles an instant or sorcery. Copy that card. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. We'll call this, we'll just call this generic. Nothing about that is very, very unique to any strategy. This is just ramp. All right, last still section here. Mountains. Planar Chaos. Yeah, at the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the coin flip, sacrifice Planar Chaos. Whenever a player plays a spell, that player flips a coin. If he or she loses the flip, counter that spell. So again, another card that's called Chaos, but we're putting it in the coin toss section. It's high risk, high reward. Warp World. Yeah. Shuffle all permanents you control in your library. Then you just reveal that many cards from the top. And then, so this is purely Chaos, but it's a fun one. Mountain. This is just artifact destruction, enter the battlefield effects and goblins, generic land, pandemonium, enter the battlefield effects. Again, it's just more damage. I have a lot of, I really like, sorry, scrying sheets. I'm going to go over this a second once we get through these. And then Conjurer's Closet, enter the battlefield. So basically where we're at with this is a lot of enter the battlefield effects, and it's pretty strong. And if I get a lot of them out, I can like really, because again, Norin the Wary, who he should be at the bottom here, he's going to enter on everyone's turn. Unless somebody does nothing, he gets exiled, and then he comes back, and he's going to trigger any of my enter the battlefield effect guys that are out, right? So this right here is actually pretty strong. And I have almost won games on that. So like if I were to like triple down on this, or like gets tutors and stuff, he could be very, very effective. I like this and this a little more, but now that I'm looking at these kind of side by side, right? Like if I combine these, right? So I've got just about as much chaos and, God, that looks really close. Just about as much chaos and, coin flip stuff as I do enter the battlefield stuff. So it's really not too bad. I think I'm still playing around with this. This is one of my favorite pet decks that I built a while ago. some of you may be keeping track. I spent quite a bit of money on this. And I definitely I don't want to like just do an out and out like dismantle or hard big change. I'd like to keep it relatively intact, but I think I just need a few changes. I don't know. I don't really know. So if anyone has any suggestions or comments, please let me know. I would love to hear anyone's opinions on this deck. You know, if you have any more questions about it as well, I'd be happy to answer. Kind of, you know, where my mind's at. Imperial Recruiter. When I built this, Imperial Recruiter was, I don't think he'd been reprinted yet, and so he was like really expensive. I could probably get an Imperial Recruiter to toss in here, and that would be very good. So we'll see about that. You know, let me know, guys, what you think. If anyone has any suggestions, please, I would love to hear them. Whether that's in YouTube comments, you could join my Discord server. I'll have that linked below. You know, please let me know. But other than that, you know, this is a pretty short, quick video. I think this is going to be coming out on a Friday morning, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if not, well, I'll make something else next time. I've got a lot of decks to go through as well, so I'll try to like kind of make this a series where I go through my decks that I have. It'll last a couple months at least if I do it once a week. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. Thanks for listening to me blather, and I'll catch you later.